now. Welcome to Positivity is the Way to Go. He is a former freelance writer and journalist who currently does analysis on Mondays via the sports hot topics uh, segments on sports. Welcome, my guest today, Al Lanier. How's morale going today, man?
It's all right. Just to kind of update people on that, I was on a show called The Writer Report. I ended my tenure on The Writer Report. I was doing NFL analysis on Mondays, so the season's over, and um, I'm not that I wasn't doing other things. I was, but my sports aspect is over because I don't come from a sports background. I come from a background generally. I come from a background as you mentioned, a freelance writer, really as a print journalist, and I covered a number of things. I covered news stories, I covered features. I was a film reviewer for 8 years, and that informs what I do now, which is that I write two film newsletters, Final Cut and Retro Review. And I have a film podcast also with the same name as the newsletter called Final Cut. So, and I just did my first two episodes of the season for the Final Cut podcast. And so people can check that out on Spotify and on Substack at allanier.substack.com for the Final Cut podcast. So I just finished, earlier this month, I think March 1st, a media tour because it's award season, it's Oscar time. And so I was talking about the Oscars, I'm talking about other awards, a little about the Golden Globes. And so I was talking about film awards. And that's what I was doing. So I was a bit busy last month. And I have a couple of, like I've done an interview already, but I've moved on to other things. I mean, I'm still involved in films, obviously, because I'm actually taking a sabbatical from my newsletter. But and if people are interested, and I'll repeat this at the end of the interview, you can check out my two newsletters. I'm actually on a sabbatical from my newsletters thus far. I wrote some reviews for Retro Review, and I review older movies from the past. And so people could check that out. I suggest they go to Final Cut and Retro Review Publications on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, go to the Final Cut and Retro Review Publications page. And that's my promotional page for my two newsletters and my podcast. So before I get into movies, a little bit of Oscars and movies in general, talking about that here, because I review movies in the past. And I used to be a film reviewer. I thought I'd talk a little about sports. Although, like I said, my tenure with the Writer Report show is over.
Well,
So.
before you start, Albert, I want to give my audience an update because I've been on hiatus.
Oh,
I've been
really?
on a shy. I've been on a shy in Chicago acting as an extra 3 times, and also I'm looking for a woman co-host. So if you want to send videos and uploads, you can also do that. And also, I want to ask my audience, what do you think would be a good name for my channel? You like positivity is the way to go, or you like just Dion? So those ideas to take into account. Also comment on it in the comment section as well, and subscribe. We will have more content moving forward. But yes, let's get into the coaching. So, what do you think was a questionable hire and a good hire?
Well, yeah. So, as everyone knows, the season is over. NFL season is over, at least those that follow sports. And so there are a number of vacancies with the coaching positions, more so than in most years. Right off the bat, in terms of the hires, I got to go with Giants, New York Giants. I thought hiring John Harbaugh was a perfect for them. And that was the choice that I saw, really. I was saying that Harbaugh would be perfect with the New York Giants. Whether that will manifest itself in terms of how the team does next year and in the next couple years, don't know. But I saw Harbaugh as a perfect coach for the New York Giants. I saw him as so that hire was excellent in my view. I mean, it's an on paper hire, but it's also, I think, a good team uh, coach fit. I think it's a fit of the man of the organization. But it's hard to say right now. That's why I say on paper it looks good, but I thought the Giants hiring Harbaugh was very good.
Well,
Now, I'm a fan
I
of three
think,
teams, so I would have preferred him on any of the teams. A couple of
well,
those teams were vacancies, but I would have preferred him
well, it's,
there. But go ahead.
well, it's all about can they fix Jackson Dart, you know, that's why he over there for leadership, you know, he was a coach of the Ravens. He only won one Super Bowl with in his career, he can win with Lamar Jackson. So a lot of people will question that, you know, he got a winning record and stuff, you know. I thought maybe he'd take a year off like Mike Tomlin, though, you know.
Well, he's too hot. Like Harbaugh, you look at
Yeah,
his track
but
record at Baltimore, and I look at that, you got to snap him up right away. Like he may have thought about, I don't know what his plans were, but I had a feeling as soon as this guy hit the market, I said he's gonna get snapped up. There's no way that somebody is gonna hire him.
yeah, but I think the Ravens should have hired Ben McDonald for the Seahawks. They should have had an in-house hire and moved off of Harbaugh. Because I mean, look what McDonald did. He just won a Super Bowl in his first year in Seattle. That's the coach. I mean, you know, that would have been a better hire and stuff. You know, he knew the building, and he was a defensive coach because that's what they lacked. That's why they just and Trey Hendrickson. You know, the Giants are like years away from actually doing what they want to do. They're gonna be
Well, what you have
competitive, you
with the
know, in the
Giants,
game. They not.
sorry, what you
I think.
what you have with the Giants is you have a nucleus of a team, right? Because you had a couple of good players, Scatterboo and Malik Neighbors, and you had Dart,
You got Jackson Dart.
who gotta be he's gotta be rain he's gotta bring the intensity down a notch. Otherwise he's gonna get destroyed on the field from the way he's playing. Uh, you know, even with all the
Yeah, he.
safety protocols with quarterbacks, he's very aggressive. Very aggressive. Go ahead.
Well, he think that's like Ole Miss. This ain't Lane Kiffin when he played in college football. You know,
Right.
like he playing against people that's 330 pounds. You know, I agree with you. You know, Eli Manning was talking about that a while ago. He said that they got a bright future, but you know he got to know how to slide. You know, because if
Right.
you don't know how to slide as a quarterback, they can hit you. You know, when you run the ball, and he not
That's what
that
I'm
big.
saying.
You know. He like 6'2", 6'1", you know. He not like Kyler Murray height, but you know, you can't take those hits too long, man. You know,
That's what I'm
they need him.
saying.
That's why John Harbaugh went to the Giants because of
Mhm.
Jackson Dart's quarterback. He wouldn't have went there if they didn't have no quarterback to play, you know, good.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting to see not just what he does with Jackson Dart in the offense, but what he's able to do with that defense. That defense is going to have to improve with the Giants. So Harbaugh
Well,
was a very good pick. Very good pick.
well, that's why they got all these people that's from the Ravens. They just got Pat Rashard, you know. They half their rosters are people that play with the Ravens.
Mhm. So that one I think is pretty much the best. Um, you know,
What was
um,
the word pie?
what was the what?
I said, what was the worst hire? Like, I think the Jets should have moved off of Glenn, man. I think the
Well,
Jets
that
keeping
he's
was
already
a mistake.
hired. My worst hire. Hmm. I don't know. I I think the worst firing was with the Bills with McDermott. I can tell you what the worst firing was with McDermott.
Well, I think the Bills should have kept McDermott, but Joe Brady, Josh Allen wanted Joe Brady as the coach, so hopefully they prove him right because Joe Brady, he a OC, he never been a coach. So hopefully they
Mhm.
get like maybe a John Harbaugh when he was a special teams coach, and then he coached the Ravens.
Well, they
Hopefully
wanted
they try
McDermott
to
out of there. It's
emulate
very
that,
clear to me.
success.
It's very clear they wanted McDermott out of there for whatever reasons. They wanted him gone. And um, I mean, anyone who saw that press conference with the owner and the GM, it's very clear to me that something was going on in that organization. And that organization is not one that has had a lot of successes, excuse me, since the 90s.
Well, yeah,
So,
Jim Kelly, but I think the owner really made a fool of himself, man. Pagula, man. Like you getting up there talking about the wide receiver, you're not playing the games at all. I mean, you're not on the field at all, You don't know how it feel to be on the field playing in a game in a brutal sport like the NFL. I think he should have really used his words. That's why they don't have some of these owners speak. Because when they speak, they talk stupid.
yeah. So I don't I think it was ill advised at the very least for Pagula to have done that press conference. And so I would say that's the worst hire. The worst firing was McDermott at the Bills, Buffalo Bills, and the best hiring was Harbaugh with the Giants. And I'm interested in seeing what Mike McCarthy can do with the Steelers, since I'm a Steelers fan.
Do you think
I
that
think
Aaron
also as a
Rodgers? Do you
Raiders
think that
fan, go
Aaron
ahead.
Rodgers is gonna come back?
I'm not sure.
I think
Um,
they should go get. I think you know who they should go get. Kirk Cousins. I think he'll be perfect for the offense. I mean, they
okay.
need they need a quarterback. I mean, you can't put your offense in Will Howard hands. Like Mike McCarthy came there to win. He didn't come there to. The Pittsburgh will never rebuild, even if Mike Tomlin not there. They not used to losing. They used to being 9-8, 10-7 football team. So
Right.
right now it's Aaron Rodgers or a bust. Right now,
I
Aaron
think
Rodgers or
I think it's going to be interesting to see whether he could continue winning with Pittsburgh, and then whether how well they can do in the playoffs. So that's going to be very interesting to see. And of
well,
course, with the
he
Raiders,
good at the,
since I'm also a Raiders fan, it's interesting to see what will happen with that, with the former Seattle coordinator coming to coming to Las Vegas. So,
well. I think that I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play another season, so I think he's going to sign with Pittsburgh eventually because Mike McCarthy and him on good terms. But then I think they just need to be bad. That's tank like in the NBA. Pittsburgh, that way they get the quarterback they want because Mike McCarthy is a good quarterback guru. Like Dak Prescott had his best season under Mike McCarthy.
mhm.
He always get the best out of his quarterback. So they got a coach that will get the best out of the quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers, he passed his time. I think Aaron Rodgers need to retire, man. You know,
Okay.
to be honest.
So I'm going to move on.
So
Like I
let's talk
said,
about
I
yeah,
go
let's
ahead.
talk about the Oscars for coming up.
Okay.
What do you think about some of the movies? I'm not like up. I'm not a movie critic like
Right.
you. You remind me of Agnan Burke. Out of MLB Network. He covers sports and he loves movies. So
Interesting. Yeah, I think I've heard of him. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
don't know.
always gets them.
I have to be
He
honest.
always get.
I don't follow other sports as much. I don't follow other sports as much. I mean, that may seem odd for someone who was analyzing the NFL on a sports show, but I'm kind of new to doing it on some show, doing analysis on a show, sports analysis on a show. So I don't watch every single again because what I'm involved with is my writing about movies. I used to review movies for about 8 years. In regards to the Oscars this year, ever since I came back, because as I mentioned before, I was a film reviewer, and when I came back to writing about movies in 2024, I also started looking at the what I call trend tracking or trend spotting, which is following movies and seeing like the critically acclaimed films and the successful movies, um, and going back to that. I have to admit, after I stopped being a reviewer, I watch the Oscars sometimes. Like I'm not a huge Oscars fanatic. Like there's some people who are just knowledgeable about the Oscars, and I've read the history and I know a good deal about the Oscars, but I my focus has always been movies, not movie awards. But it's been interesting this year for me because for the first time ever, I have been interviewed on shows about the Oscars. And that's something that I had never done before. And so this year I got to see some of the nominated movies. It's a very interesting crop this year. Of course, it's a noteworthy year because of the movie Sinners getting 16 nominations. And it's going to be very interesting. Come, as I'm doing this, I guess recording this. This is a Thursday. I'm recording this on a Thursday. The Oscars are on Sunday, a couple of days, um, and it's going to be interesting to see who's going to win Best Picture this year. Because I've been saying last month when I did my tour, I was on a few shows discussing, movie awards, not just the Oscars, but other movie awards. Um, my feeling is that Sinners won't win Best Picture. I don't get into handicapping. I'm not into, oh, this is going to win this award and that's going to win this award and that, which is what you see a lot of on YouTube, right? You see a lot of people, they're doing their Oscar predictions. Now, what I did on my podcast, and I encourage everyone listening, well, they're not just listening, but watching this, um, especially if this comes out like before the Oscars, before Sunday, check out my podcast episode 22 called If I Pick the Oscars, where I give my own awards, my own Oscars for movies this year. So people can check that out. They might find that interesting. And if for those of you who are like really into the Oscars or really fanatical about the Oscars, feel free to compare it to the movies that actually won. Now, again, I don't handicap. On my podcast, Final Cut, I did give away my own awards. That was inspired by two film critics from, of course, your hometown, Chicago, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. And on their show years ago, they used to do an Oscar show. I think initially was called If We Pick the Oscars, and later was If We Pick the Winners. And so what I did on my podcast was really inspired by that because when I was kind of preparing to go, preparing for my award season tour, I was watching old episodes of those Oscar shows, and so in regards to this year's Oscars, I've been on the record as saying I don't personally think that Sinners will win Best Picture. Um, but it's beginning to pick up steam right now. I think it did pretty well at the SAG Awards, which are now called the Actor Awards. They rebranded themselves, which I think is weird, but I don't think it's weird to rebrand yourself. I think it's a silly title, but no one asked me. So um, I tend to believe that One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson's film, will win Best Picture. Uh, but again, I don't get into the handicapping awards. So, in regards to this year's Oscars, although I don't view it from a personal standpoint all the time, um, I tend to try to view it from more closer to an industry standpoint, which is the Oscars, as far as I'm concerned, are more of a marketing and promotional asset and a financial asset for movies.
Well,
And
let's
that's how
let's
I view it.
let's hope that they get more diversity and stuff. They got to get better with diversity, man. And having people that look like
Well,
me on there,
you got
man.
Sinners, and I guess you could call that a diverse choice. That's got 60 nominations, broke the record. So, again, it's an interesting race this year. It's an interesting crop of movies, not just nominated for Best Picture, but an interesting crop of movies with Oscar nominations. So, quite honestly, um, I have to say, since when I was on tour, when I was doing shows on my award season media tour, I generally was. I have to admit, I'm pretty satisfied with the Oscar nominations this year. A lot of movies I like got nominated. Sinners I like. It's not my favorite movie of the year, but I do like Sinners. One Battle After Another, which I think is a terrific movie. Um, Sentimental Value, Joaquin Trier's film. Um, it's Just an Accident by Jinar Panahi. I'm very happy that got a couple nominations. And of course, The Secret Agent, which I think is one of the year's best movies. So, generally speaking, I'm pretty satisfied from a personal standpoint with the films that got a lot of nominations.
Well,
I'm not a huge F1 fan, but I, you know, I
Brad
don't
Pitt
think
is
it should have
Formula
got a
One. Yeah,
Best Picture
yeah,
nomination. But
yeah.
I like the movie, and I certainly think it deserved all the technical nominations.
Well,
That
I'm gonna get you out on this, Albert. It was a pleasure having you on today. But what was your favorite movie that you have watched lately?
Well, I was looking at the movies that were nominated for Oscars. So one of my favorites was The Secret Agent from Brazil. That's one movie I'm a huge fan of. Um, One Battle After Another is another one. There's a movie that's also got some Oscar nominations I thought was quite good called Train Dreams. It did well at the Independent Spirit Awards. And, um, again, it's just an
What,
accident. I would just talk about the movies that I saw in regards to the Oscars.
what,
F1 was
what
okay. F1 was not
would
bad. Go
you
ahead.
would you do some acting work, Albert? Like if they called you up right now, like man, we want you in this movie, or we want somebody to play you in a movie. Would you let somebody play you in a movie, or would you be in a movie if they wanted you to be in a movie?
Um,
You would tell them
Not
no.
unless I'm not looking to act in any movies. No, I write about movies. I don't act in movies. So
Okay, well,
I'm not looking to be in any
you would let
movies.
somebody
But
play
you
you in a
said you
movie
were
though.
an extra on what was the name of the show or movie?
No, it was a TV show. It's called The Shy. This day
Shy. Now
final,
that's on
yeah,
Showtime, isn't it?
yeah, this
Yeah.
day final season.
All right. So, so how was that? If I may ask you a question, how's that?
It was good. I didn't have no lines at all. I was a party goer, and then I was like a street pedestrian. The people would have to see their final season. But man, it was one thing. It was great. I can't talk about it because that's
Okay.
plagiarism and stuff. But when they see that part, they gonna be like, man, they're going out with a bang. They final season, man.
I see. I see. I've never seen the show, but so I'll take your word on it.
Well,
Are you
I'm gonna be in it, man. So I'm gonna be at a TV near you this season on the site. So be looking out for me, you
yeah.
guys.
Check out Dion Davis
Yes,
on the
right. I'm
reply.
more than just a YouTuber. I'm an actor now too. You know,
So are you looking to become an actor?
they pay good money. Yeah, I can help my mother out and help change her life and my life and other people's lives. So if it happens, it happens.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. Um, well, like I said, I write about movies, and I'm I'm supposed to take a sabbatical. I guess I have taken a sabbatical from my newsletters, but I did write a few reviews this year for Retro Review, which is my my review newsletter, and I review movies of the past, right? So I review movies. I just did my last reviews, and I don't think I'll be doing any more until maybe later on this year because I'm taking a break. And I'm focusing on my podcast thus far this year. So I'm supposed to be focusing on my podcast. So I've already done, like I said, 2 episodes of Final Cut podcast. But in regards to the retro review newsletter, I did a review of Star Trek, the motion picture, and the last one I did was the Black Hole. So people who are movie fans, maybe movie buffs, people who are just like to watch movies, don't view themselves as buffs or fans or whatever, check out my reviews this year thus far. Maybe I'll return back to doing it much later next, later on in the year. But I'm taking a break from that to kind of settle down because I've been writing my newsletters for nearly 2 years now. So I've been really busy. So I'm doing, it's doing the newsletter, and then I got into podcasting. I'm doing podcasts, my own podcasts, and then I'm doing promos. So, and then I'm doing interviews on shows like this, bigger and
Yeah,
small. You know,
well,
it's
I gotta grow up audience, Albert. I got 348 subscribers and counting, man.
right. So,
I'm a growing
so
YouTube channel.
right, yeah, and I've seen, the past interviews I've done here have gotten pretty decent numbers for a channel that only has less than 1,000 subscribers. So, I
Since I'm gonna be acting and stuff, the numbers gonna go up. I mean, I'm gonna be on TV shows, so I'm gonna be more well known and everything.
well, if you're looking to do the extra thing, um, there are other TV shows that film in. You're in Chicago, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I want me some speaking roles. I want some talking roles. Like, I get
Well,
Brad Pitt. He started his career as an extra. I
that's
got
right.
Hollywood.
He did extra
Yeah, yeah,
work. I think he
yeah.
started off as extra, and he was
He
doing extra
poured
work.
he poured
Yeah.
water in his thing. Hollywood Capone told me he had like one line and then he poured water in somebody's cup. Like at a restaurant. That's how Brad Pitt first started.
Yeah, I think he had done extra work. I think he started out doing
Yeah,
extra work.
yeah,
But I would say, like I said, since you're doing extra work and you could continue, check out if there are any more extra work opportunities. There's a movie or another TV show filming there in Chicago. And you might also think about having a sizzle reel. I don't
yeah.
know how far you want to go on this, but like I don't, you know, I know some people who are extras have their like extra sizzle reel. I mean, Normally it's for actors, but again, I don't know how far you want to go in the direction of
The
like
the the
extra
only
work and everything.
the only thing about being an actor is it's a lot of hours, man. It's a lot of time, and it's a lot of downtime, being things and stuff. And you got to be careful who you talk to and stuff, because some people get jealous these days too, and they want to tell stories on so you got to be careful with that as well, because
Hmm.
envy, jealousy, even in the acting
Right,
world, that goes on, even among
right.
actors. But Albert, it was a pleasure having you on again, man. I know you want Ben Cleverer to come on. I had you on there, my guy Albert Lanier, all the
Well,
way
it was
from
nice that I
Hawaii.
was able. I didn't know you were on hiatus, but um, yeah, I was. Like I said, I finished my tour uh, about March, 1st of March. So it was nice to do that, and so I've gotten to talk a little about you know Oscars and movies here. But like I said, if people are interested, like I said, this is being done on Thursday, a couple days before Sunday, March 15th, which is when the Oscars are on ABC. And so, if you want to check out, people out there want to check out my my podcast. It's called Final Cut, and of course, it's the same name as my newsletter because it's a promotional vehicle for my newsletter. And I have two Oscar themed, Oscar oriented episodes. Episode 21, which is called The Year of Filming Dangerously, where I talk about the Oscars in general. And episode 22, which is If I Picked the Oscars, where I give my own awards. Again, my own awards. This is not my Oscar picks. They're my own awards. And it's inspired by Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel's shows. Um, when they were doing their show right there from Chicago, where you are, um, many years ago. So go and check that out. You can check out Final Cut the podcast on Spotify. You can also go on to Substack and go to allanier.substack.com. That's Al Lanier, ALLANIER .substack.com for Final Cut the podcast, my episodes that have come out. And of course, what I would say also is if you want to check out my newsletters, where you can go, if you're on Facebook, you can go to my promotional page for which I think I promote my newsletters and I think my podcast as well. Go to the Final Cut and Retro Review Publications page on Facebook. Again, on Facebook, Final Cut and Retro Review Publications, and that's my promo page. I have promo pictures there. I have my promotional my promos for um, my newsletters because on Substack they give you images where you can put up anywhere to promote. So you got my promo images there. I think there's some links to reviews, a couple links to reviews there, and there are also some like extra photo galleries from movies that I review. So check it out again on Facebook, Final Cut and Retro Review Publications page. You can check it out for my newsletters. But for the podcast, it's Final Cut the podcast, and you can check that out on Spotify and at Substack at allanier.substack.com. And like I said, the Oscars are coming up Sunday, March 15th. So please check out that episode before the Oscars. You can do it after the Oscars, but check that out, especially
Well,
before the Oscars.
well, it was a pleasure having you on again, Al, today, man. You
Thank
have a
you,
great
Dad. Thank
day.
you for having me. And my best to you in your extra work and who knows, acting work as well. Who knows?